Hello everyone, thank you so much for stopping by again today. My name is Carey and today I plan on talking to you guys about my September TBR reading list. I have an update for you guys, and so I wanted to share with y'all my thoughts on the books that I had said I was going to read in the month of September. And guys, I actually have an extra. I read one more book than what was on the list because it came up on my library queue, guys, and I was not about to turn it away. So anyways, the first book I want to talk to you guys would be Lady Elizabeth by Alison Weir. And actually I have two books on my list this month by her, and I really am enjoying her as an author. Now granted, I've only read two books by her, so far those are the only two I have for my opinion. But the first one would be Lady Elizabeth, and it's based on Queen Elizabeth. But what I really enjoyed about this book is that it takes Queen Elizabeth from a babe, from a little babe, not a baby, but you know, as a young girl, and it walks you through until she's older. And why I like that is that you get to see her relationship and the dynamics between, for example, her sister Mary, and also with her father, and as well as she develops relationships with each one of her father's wives. And I say it that way because it was very hard for her to navigate through that part of her life. I can only imagine, you know, I come from a divorced family, and I realize that it is very hard sometimes for children to navigate the different relationships and how they become. And so I can only imagine having to deal with 6 different mamas. So actually, she only had to deal with 5. Poor Mary had to deal with 6. But anyways, I just wanted to tell you guys that I really did enjoy that book. And as a matter of fact, of the 2 books that I read by Alison Weir this month, that was the one I enjoyed the most. The second one I read by her was Katherine of Aragon. And guys, I read that one based on the fact that I had enjoyed Lady Elizabeth so much, and I did like Katherine of Aragon. The problem is it's not so much a story, the author's problem in the writing, so much as the story in itself. Unfortunately, Katherine of Aragon was much more of a tragic character in the whole Tudor dynasty, and so it just kind of broke my heart as I read her story, and in different parts of it, I just wanted to run up to her and give her a big hug. My heart went out to her. Here she was born a daughter of Queen Elizabeth and King Ferdinand in Spain. She was born to be a queen in her own. She was a princess, and she was born to be a queen. She was raised by a strong woman who reigned over her kingdom very powerfully and mightily. And she was placed in a position where she almost had to learn how to survive in a totally different culture, number one, and number two, with very strong males that didn't really value the female role in, you know, the kingdom. And aside from that, she marries Henry, which, you know, as we know, could be quite fickle. So anyways, I really did. First she married Arthur, but that's another story. And I really hope that, you know, I'm not discouraging you from reading the book, because it was written very well. I think that Alison Weir did a great job in doing her fact checks, and her historical aspect of the novel was just wonderful. It's just that unfortunately Katherine's story is just a little bit more tragic, and therefore didn't leave you with your you know, with that feeling that maybe Lady Elizabeth did, because as we all know, she went on to become a great queen. And so, you know, that's where that became a little difficult. So it's not fair to say it's not as good of a book. I just enjoyed the other one more. So then the third book that I had on my list is, and let me make sure I read this right, because this title is a little long, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. And guys, I really liked it. This was a fantastical science fiction story, and at times don't get insulted when I say this, because there's some diehard fans out there for Star Wars. But see, I grew up in the Star Wars generation, and I remember going out to see the first Star Wars movie. And I remember, you know, as I watched Luke Skywalker, you know, walking around in his sandy world, and Yoda and all that, you know, I can remember, you know, the R2-D2 and C-3PO, and as a matter of fact, I still continue to be kind of a geek in that way. But I remember that, and so here I am reading this book, and it just really led me a little bit nostalgic. I remembered, and it brought up some, you know, I don't know, did anyone else get that from this book? It just really set me back there. I did enjoy this book. It was good. It's a little bit young, I will say that, and it touched on some subject matters that, you know, you're like, you know, it's just a little, but it was all quite, it was a different dimension. It was a different, you know, that it's definitely a long way and a small angry planet. That's all I have to say. Honestly, I think Becky Chambers did an excellent job on the sci-fi. I really did enjoy it. Now, I'm going to try to get book 2 for the month of October, so keep posted on that one. But I do, if you like sci-fi, if you like fantastical, if you like dystopian societies, and if you liked Star Wars, I really think, no, don't even think that it's comparable, because guys, I'm sorry, there's nothing comparable to Star Wars. But, and if you don't agree, I'm sorry, but it's just, it reminded me of that. And so that was a good thing. It was a really good thing. I did enjoy the book and I do recommend it. And book 4, so then book 4 I read was Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. Was it Lawson? Yes, Jenny Lawson. And that was a nonfiction book, and she is a nonfiction writer who writes, basically it's autobiographical, and she suffers from several mental illnesses, and she is quite cheeky. She's got definitely a gift for sharing her story with some great humor attached to it. Now, do not get me wrong, I am not making light of the subject matter. She suffers from major depression, and she alludes to other diagnoses in her book, and so I don't want to take away from what she suffers from, but what I really enjoyed in this book is just how different her thought process was than, let's say, my own. And I mean, have y'all ever seen that meme, you know, I've got all my ducks in a row, and then, you know, I've got squirrels. You know, she's a squirrel. She's like a squirrel. I mean, that's her thought processes are just not linear. They're just like this. And so it's really interesting to read her book, because you can see that she just doesn't think the way that maybe I think, you know, that my brain works. And I love reading books by people that think different than I do. I loved being able to see or get some insight into someone else's life experience. I love the fact that she says that she tells his story to encourage others that maybe are battling with the same things that she battles with. The fact that she's able to share her life experience so candidly and with so much joy attached to it, to be honest with you. I mean, I was giggling throughout that whole book, even though it's a very, very difficult subject matter. And guys, I fell in love with her relationship with her husband, Victor. I thought they're adorable. They're absolutely adorable. He is her yin to her yang. She's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I really did enjoy it. I don't do a lot of nonfiction reading, and so this was definitely one of those that I did enjoy. She is entertaining. That is the word for her. I don't know if she's everyone's cup of tea, because she is very opinionated, but I also love to be stretched and to see how other people think. And so, like I said earlier, I did enjoy Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. And last, you guys aren't going to be surprised, I read book 3 in the Harry Potter series. I told you guys that I was going to try to go back and read maybe some of the earlier books, you know, in Harry Potter, and I might just continue reading them all. I just really feel like revisiting the books right now, and so I read Prisoner of Azkaban. And you know what, guys, I have to tell you something. I didn't remember that I really liked this book as much as I did. Honestly, it was always one of those that, you know, 1, 2, and 3 were just like, yeah. I've always loved Goblet of Fire and then Deathly Hallows the most, and so not that, you know, that you can pick or choose, you know, each one has their own preference, but it was just never one in my, you know, the ones I would most memorable, let me put it that way. But guys, I loved it. I loved going back and revisiting Sirius Black. It also took me back to the time when my daughter was young, and we read it together. And even though at this point that's not where we're at anymore, you know, she's 19, she'll be 20 next year, so we're not reading a book together anymore. It still is a great memory to bring back up. And I really did enjoy, you know, Prisoner of Azkaban. It is such a good book. I really hope that moms out there are taking the time to read that book with their children, or even dads, guys, because honestly, it's a great book to, like, to share with your children, especially if you like fantasy. I definitely would recommend it if you're into the fantasy books. So anyways, guys, those were the books that I read in the month of September. Now, I haven't yet picked out the books that I'll be reading in the month of October. We'll get back to that. I'll let y'all know. I'll keep you posted on that one. So guys, thank you so much for stopping by today and watching this video. I hope y'all come back and visit again and be part of my family. But anyways, you guys have a great day and be blessed. Bye.